American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you very much.
2016, year of the snake. It's time for a change in the White House, y'all. Bring it. If you want the real deal, then you gotta get a real leader. Want a real leader, then we need a real man. Build a wall, deal with all them terrorists. America needs a man that can. If you wanna feel safe in your own backyard, one choice. You gotta play your trump card. I say Trump, you say hell high. When I say Trump, you say hell high. Make America great again. Make America great again. Make America great again. Time to make America great again.
How's it going, folks? Welcome, welcome, welcome. There's my monkey. As long as you can be here, Chris, good to see you. Oneida, good to see you. Loretta, good to see you. Dennis, Regina, how's it going, my friends? Good to see y'all. Click the share button. Let folks we know we are live. As you know, we continue to fight the good fight against conservative censorship. I think it's time, guys. I'm gonna grab my tea. Click the share. I'll be right back. Hello, Christina. How are you? Jenna, good to see you. Erica, good to see you. Yeah, everybody send some love and prayers to Chris. Marcus, how's it going? As President Trump has said, our keyboard warriors are so important, and Chris is one of the best, you guys. One of the best keyboard warriors we have. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. You are watching the one and only Trump Talk US live in DC with Suzzanne Monk. I am Suzzanne Monk. We have Chris McDonald representing Trump Talk US in the room. We are 8 minutes away from the nation's capital, you guys. We are 15 minutes away from the president's White House and 16 minutes away from Mayor Muriel Bowser's Black Lives Matter Plaza. Black Lives Matter Plaza here in DC. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the show. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for clicking the share button. Let folks know we are live. As you know, they censor us like crazy here on Twitter all the time. We're censored to the eyeballs, So I appreciate you guys sharing and letting folks know. Want to give you guys an update on the weekend. We had a wonderful 4th of July celebration here in Washington, D.C. I'm going to tell you all the good stuff. We're going to talk about some of the bad stuff that happened. And we're going to talk about what this is all going to mean going forward. But let's first talk about the fantastic show that the Interior Department and the President Donald J. Trump, your and my favorite guy, President Donald J. Trump, put on here in Washington, D.C. Absolutely stunning event. There were lots of people there, not nearly as many as last year, obviously, with the COVID-19, with the shutdowns, etc., the protests and all the craziness going on here in the city. But we did have a wonderful crowd of people. Even better, we had a fantastic show. President Trump did not let Muriel Bowser shut down this year's 4th of July celebration in any way whatsoever. In any way whatsoever. Fantastic show. President Trump did a wonderful event on the South Lawn of the White House. The Department of Defense had tables set out, had military families there enjoying the festivities. He did a wonderful speech and had wonderful flyovers from Air Force One, the Blue Angels, the Thunderbirds, World War II, various World War historic planes that were flying over. So wonderful show. We were actually right at the base of the Washington Monument. So once the flyover started, when the show started, they did smoke, blue and red smoke bombs, boom, shut up all around the monument, letting everybody know that the show was starting. It was fantastic. After the flyovers, President Trump spoke. We were actually up on the hill. We had tapped in to a lot. We had our speaker there, so we were able to hear, listen to music, etc. But we were also able to hear the president's speech. Fantastic speech. Not quite as fantastic as the one at Mount Rushmore. That was fantastic. But this one was certainly on that level, on that kind of messaging. And I think the messaging that President Trump has going forward is really the winning message. You know, we see so much division in this country. We see so much anger and destruction being supported and even committed by the Democrats, by Democrat politicians, Democrat leaders. So that message is not resonating with people. People are not happy about the violence. They're not happy about all of the chaos. They're not happy about the shutdowns. They're not happy about the economy. And they are more and more putting the blame where it belongs, squarely on the backs of the Democrat Party. So President Trump's message of a strong economy, of a strong America, of law and order, of respecting and honoring our history, of building on that history to create more and more unity in this country as the founders intended, is right on message with not just the Republican voters, but with the American voters, with a vast majority of the American voters. And so the speech was fantastic. We'll talk a little bit about some interesting polls that are coming out right now as far as Donald Trump is concerned. But I want to continue on with, of course, the fireworks show. Now, fireworks show was beautiful. We had all of the fireworks at the Washington Monument, Beautiful fireworks show there, down over the Lincoln or the Lincoln Memorial and at the Jefferson. So we had 3 sites of fireworks, 3 locations of fireworks going off in the city that you could see from the National Mall. About 35 minutes. That was the longest fireworks show that they've ever done here in D.C., which I love. President Trump always raises the bar. No matter what he does last year, he's going to do it bigger and better this year. It's one of the things I love about him. And he did, in fact. It was so many fireworks, you got tired of watching fireworks. That's how much fireworks it was. So fantastic, the performance. And I just really appreciate Donald Trump doing such a great job with that. And most importantly, standing up to the mayor of D.C., who wanted to do everything she could and did do everything she could to make this the most impossible event, to make it impossible to hold this 4th of July here in Washington, D.C. She was trying to shut it down. President Trump and the Interior Department did not allow that. And I've literally contacted the Interior Department. I'm going to be sending a letter to the head of the Interior Department, letting them know, thank you. Thank you for standing up to the mayor. Thank you for standing up for our rights as American citizens to celebrate our liberty. So important, celebrating liberty. That's what America is built on. Virus, no virus, protests, no protests. we come together, we celebrate our liberty, our freedom, our wonderful Constitution. This bad boy right here. Celebrate all of those things. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic show. So now, Marita, I want to mention this real quick. Marita says her neighborhood was lit up for over 3 hours. Lots of illegal fireworks going on in DC as well as many states and cities where the fireworks shows were shut down. I've seen pictures from California. Everybody was lighting up fireworks. So you shut down the fireworks shows. People still want their fireworks. People still plan and intend to have their fireworks, and they gonna have it, and they did. So this is what America is all about. Now, the mayor, however, here in DC, did everything within her power to make it absolutely impossible for the city to celebrate this event. As you know, she told everyone to stay home. She said it's better to celebrate the 4th staying home. She tried to shut down that as a message from the city. How's it going, Dan? Good to see you. Dan is out on the Trump. Dan, tell me what the Trump tour bus you guys are on. What are you guys calling it? I keep forgetting the name. So, I'll tell you what, but Diane's doing, she's got some great stuff that she's doing going forward towards the election now going forward. So I'm going to try to give her a little plug once I remember what she's doing. Well, remember what she's calling what she's doing. So, the mayor actually, Trump Force One, the Trump Force One tour bus. Yes, Trump Force One tour bus. She's going to be going across the country to campaign events, candidate events, helping out different candidates across the country, bringing in the bus full of fun, Trump supporters, speakers, people who can really share the message and really get out a nice crowd for these candidates, support these candidates. And so this is one of the ways that Diane is doing it. And President Nutcracker is on the bus. President Nutcracker is on the bus. So he's driving around. And yes, Diane is absolutely correct. I will be traveling with her when I can, which is going to be some good amount of time. It's going to be some good amount of time. So certainly, get on the bus. Get some trumping on. Trumping on. Diane, will you share a link to the Facebook page for the Trump Force One bus so that people can follow what you're doing with that? And I'll share it up here on the page. Now, let me tell you what Muriel Bowser did to try to make this a horrible 4th of July for everyone. Number one thing Muriel Bowser did, obviously, tell everybody to stay home. Number 2, she blocked the highways, every highway entrance into the city, into downtown. She had those all blocked off. So it was next to, and how's it going, Sharon? It was next to impossible to get into the city off of the highways. In fact, several of the bikers that came into town were not able to get their bikes over from the Virginia side. It was a little easier for us. We actually went up to Baltimore. Diane, Helena, a bunch of great patriots went up to Baltimore to Towson, I don't know how they say it. It's Maryland. Just outside in Baltimore County there, we did a We Back Blue rally up supporting our law enforcement, our men and women of law enforcement up there, had a wonderful gathering there. And then we came back down into the city. Luckily, we were coming in from the Maryland side, so we could get on the regular street roads to get in. But the highways were all shut down. People had such difficulty getting into the city. There wasn't parking. There's plenty of parking. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of space. The mayor made it extremely difficult to get folks in. Yeah, exactly. Tracy says, I watched Latinos for Trump. They had to walk in. That is correct. She made it as difficult as possible to get people in. Here's another thing she did that made it as difficult as possible. And this has been an ongoing process that she has made it. She has encouraged, she has supported these ongoing protests in the city, Black Lives Matter protests in the city that have blocked traffic, have blocked highways, have committed acts of vandalism, are threatening and intimidating people, citizens, people walking around. So let me tell you what happened at the Washington Monument with us, our big group of Trump supporters, and the Black Lives Matter protesters that came to disrupt the fireworks show there on the Washington Monument. I want to first off give credit to President Trump for his sensibility in, I didn't realize, I thought to myself, well, why are they taking the area from 17th Street all the way down to the Lincoln Memorial and blocking that off as a secure area that you need tickets in? Well, thankfully, there was good reason for that, because it created an area where they could, in fact, secure the people from any possible protesters. And there were plenty of protesters roaming around the streets of DC on the 4th of July. So we were in the park there at the base of the Washington Monument. We had a whole bunch of patriots. Must have been 100 of us, easy, 150 maybe. Everybody was a Trump supporter, kind of started to come around. We had our big Trump flag up. We had the super big one laid out on the grass there. Kind of, you could see it from the hill. You could see our American flags waving and our Trump flags and our blue line flags. And so everybody with a Trump supporter kind of came all around there. So we had all of the folks that came into town that came with us, that we'd been hanging out with at Harry's and throughout the weekend. They were all there. A lot of our great patriots were there. Our Proud Boys that were in town, I want to thank those guys for coming into town. They were all there. Operation Flag Drop was even there. And so here's what happened. Okay. We're there. The flyovers had happened. We were in the process of waiting for the fireworks to start, waiting for dusk to settle and for the fireworks to start. We saw coming into the area a reasonably large, probably 50 or 60 large, at least, group of Black Lives Matter protesters coming into the Washington Memorial area, chanting Black Lives Matter, coming towards our group. Now, of course, because you know your girl, I've been in these situations many times, I immediately tell everybody standing around, I say, do not engage the Black Lives Matter kids. Do not engage these protesters. Leave them. Don't go yell at them. Don't go scream at them. Don't go get in fights with them. Don't confront them. Don't try to get in their way. Just let them march away. They're going to march. They're going to buy. We're going to be like, have a nice day. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. We're going to let them march back because they're going to get bored of us saying Happy Independence Day and they're going to leave us alone. Patriots did not take my advice. Several patriots did. Many patriots did. Many patriots did not take that advice. And so a whole bunch of folks started going over so that they could go and yell All Lives Matter, chant back at the Black Lives Matter protesters. Now, look, you know as well as I do, Suzzanne Monk is always down for a good counter protest. I'm always down for a good counter protest. I'm always happy to go and get in the face of the radical left. Always. Okay. That being said, there is a time and a place for everything. There is a time and a place for everything. And on Independence Day, when we are there on the National Mall, when there are families, all kinds of families, kids, people enjoying the National Mall, enjoying the fireworks, this is not a time to participate in inciting a riot. Okay? This is a time to de-escalate conflict. It was inappropriate for Black Lives Matter to come in and try to use this holiday and use this event. Yeah, exactly. Don't feed the monsters. Don't feed the Black Lives Matter monsters. This event for their message, that was inappropriate. But I don't control them. You don't control them. Clearly, their mama don't even control them because they're out here on the street trying to tear down statues and destroy property. So there's nothing I can do about that. That's free speech. That's the beauty of America. I can't control another human being, but as you know, I can always control myself. And so I can use my free speech and my ability to make choices to make a better situation for others. So folks went over, they started chanting. Now, this wasn't even so bad. You know, we had patriots, and I'm going to start calling you guys that come in from out of town. I love you. I love my patriots. I love patriots coming here to DC. But there are folks that come here to DC, and they do a little bit of what I'm going to start calling protest tourism. Okay, they know we have Antifa here. They know we have Black Lives Matter here. They know we have these leftist protesters. So they want to come see the show. You know, they want to come see what's all the hype about. What are all these Black Lives Matter protesters screaming out? What are all these? They want to have their experience. Okay, yelling back, you know, standing up to the protesters. So the problem being, yeah, Tracy, there's a lot of danger in it, but the problem being, you're busy having this fun experience screaming at the protesters, but you forgot the experience you're creating for everyone else around you. You forgot the impression that you are giving everyone else around you when you're wearing this hat, and you put yourself in a bad situation. Luckily for us, that situation, at first at least, remained very calm. And luckily for us, we have wonderful police here, as I'm going to tell you the rest of the story, that were able to keep it calm, but they had to work at it. They had to work very hard, and folks made it unnecessarily hard. So patriots were over there, you know, kind of hollering, all lives matter, you know, hollering back at the protesters, having a good time, playing protest. And, you know, it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt or until punches start flying. Now, here's how that happened. That actually did happen. And unfortunately, it wasn't Black Lives Matter that actually instigated that. As much as they were there inappropriately, they were there aggressive, they were insulting, they were mean, they were saying cuss words. It was inappropriate what they were doing entirely. It was Suzzanne from Operation Flag Drop that ran into the crowd. I'm going to just tell it like it is, because this is what happened. I want you guys to know what happened, as I was physically there. I know what happened. Suzzanne sees the thing. He's like, I'm gonna go in there. I'm going in. He grabs his big giant Trump flag, throws his shoes off, runs deep into the middle of the Black Lives protesters. Well, immediately they begin to, and he's swinging his giant flag around. They immediately begin to try to grab the flag. Now there is a fight for the flag. Now that he has caused a fight with the Black Lives Matter protesters for this flag. We had other patriots that had to protect him and get in there and help him because he had instigated this fight. We also had park police who now had to come and separate these individuals and hold the line in between us because of the potential for violence that was created because of this inappropriate behavior by a Trump supporter to run in and instigate violence where no violence was occurring. Where no violence was occurring. In an environment where that behavior was completely inappropriate. You did not want to be escalating that situation where we have families and children all here on the park watching this event. You wanted to be de-escalating that situation. So, patriots managed to actually get out of that situation, get the big flag out of the situation. Now the park police have come in and they pull in the officers, come whole line of officers, 20, 30 officers, maybe 20, maybe 40 come in, break up the crowd, divide the crowd, and then they start spreading apart from each other. Okay, so they start spreading apart. They come in like this, divide up the two factions, and then the cops start doing this. And they're trying to get us pushed back from each other. Now, when I saw this, I went over and made sure that I helped out the officers because I knew that I was going to be able I knew I was going to be able to get patriots to move back in ways that perhaps the law enforcement were not, although I would like to think that my patriots always respect and listen to the instruction of law enforcement because they understand that those people are there to make them safe, keep them safe, and that their instructions are not designed to prohibit or hinder you in any way. They are designed to protect you. Not all patriots are aware of that. In fact, many patriots felt that the park police were telling them to get out of the park, which was not at all true. In fact, so when I came in, there was our nice line. The officers had separated approximately 7 feet from each other, so they had some amount of space, but patriots were still trying to yell at the other side, and the Black Lives Matter folks were not moving back in any way. So I came in between the cops and our patriots and said, I need 5 feet. Give these officers space. Give these officers space. We got everybody to move back, most everybody to move back, about 10, 15 feet, giving those officers space. One of the officers, as I was getting folks to move back, said to me, we don't need you guys to leave. We're not asking you to leave. We just need you to move back. I got you, officer. I got you. I'm on it, my friend. And so we made sure that we moved folks back. Now, by the time as I'm doing that, unfortunately, some patriots, in this particular case, Suzzanne, was not willing to step back. When I got to him in the line of patriots, said, we need to give these cops room. He said, please excuse the language. I'm going to have to use the language that he actually used. This is just the facts of the situation, so I'm going to have to use the bad language that he used. Cuss word warning, you guys, adult language. Okay. He said, and I quote, I'm not fucking moving an inch. Fuck them. And I said, these officers have not had a day off in 6 weeks. Don't harass them. Don't make it hard for them. And he didn't yell that F word at me. He yelled it in the officer's face. He yelled it in an officer's face who he was about 12 to 18 inches away from. A female officer. A female officer he was less than a foot away from, screaming this in her face. And I yelled, I said, do not do this to my officers. And he said, fuck them. Hold the line, he says to everybody else. Now, he's the only one holding the line because everybody else has to move back out of respect for law enforcement, as I have requested and as law enforcement needed, so that they could keep us and everybody else at the park safe. It's not about you and your protest tourism and having a good time and starting to fight with people. It's not about that. It's about protecting all of the individuals there at the park, at the event. Okay? It's about protecting everyone. So, Dion didn't listen. I moved on. I had other things to do. I had more people to move back. I got everybody to move back. One of the officers was actually so appreciative. She thanked me for what I was doing, which is very unusual because, I'm usually the one thanking officers. We're usually the one thanking the officers for their service. It was still moving. I still get verklempt. It was very moving to actually feel that I was doing something that the officers can truly appreciate and truly felt was helpful and useful in a moment where they don't need to be in this situation. It's the 4th of July. They don't need to be standing here becoming screaming protesters. The whole city was chaos. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what went on in the rest of the city. It's been weeks of this. They're exhausted. They're overwhelmed. They've been insulted every single day. Every single day, these officers have been insulted. They've been cussed at. They've been spit on. They've been called names. Everything. So to have one of those officers tell me that what I was doing was helping them and to thank me was really moving. Dion was not as appreciative. Dion continued to be aggressive towards the police. In fact, our good friend Diane was the main reason he was not put in jail on Saturday night, because she was able to drag him away from the officers, where he continued to escalate. He continued to be volatile. He continued to push against them, continued to resist their demands to the point where he not only was likely to get arrested, it might have been the best outcome. However, patriots, we don't like to leave people on the battlefield, and I appreciate that Diane did everything she could as well to de-escalate the situation, to take charge of this one individual who was completely unhinged and was not behaving appropriately. I don't know, Marita, probably, maybe, I can't say. I didn't see him drinking and I don't know. What I do know is his behavior was unacceptable. Unacceptable. And as we know, if you drink and that's the kind of thing you do, don't drink. And if you do drink and that's the kind of thing you do and you can't stop yourself from drinking, don't be around me. Don't be around our patriots. Don't represent our president. Certainly don't represent our president. Unacceptable. Not something we want to continue going forward. So that situation, it was very interesting. So the protesters screaming, the cops have now divided. There's now cop line. These cops are holding the line. These cops are holding the line. We finally got our patriots backing up to where the vast majority of patriots kind of got bored of yelling and filtered away. So we dispersed our crowd. Effectively, the Black Lives Matter protesters broke up. They kind of moved on to another little protest over here on the other side. They kind of had their own little area where they were chanting. Once the fireworks started, it got a little quieter because as much as they were trying to protest, they also were couldn't help themselves but want to watch the fireworks. So, the fireworks were certainly beautiful. It was very surreal to see folks, they'd watch the fireworks and then they'd remember they're supposed to be protesting and they'd put their fist up and they'd chant something. And that was certainly an exercise in Americanism. It was certainly an exercise in our beautiful experiment in liberty and freedom of speech. to be in that moment where we're celebrating the birth of our nation, we're celebrating these beautiful events, and here people are exercising their First Amendment right in a way that is unpleasant, but legal and certainly constitutional. Certainly constitutional. I want to give great credit. To the Park Police for their diplomacy, for their gracious handling of the situation, and for their restraint. They certainly could have done a lot more and been more aggressive. They were certainly very calm and did a wonderful job in doing that. Now I want to bring up some comments. Yes, Diane, I agree. And this is unfortunate. I don't like saying this about a patriot, but Dion's behavior was not ambassadorial for our president anyway. It was a stain, certainly to drag a huge flag like that into, as you're inciting a riot. It's kind of interesting because we had one little protester who came to us earlier in the night, and he said, he had a sign that said Trump incites, and then the other side said Trump divides. And we actually had some great conversations with him. As you know, everybody on our side is pretty good to have a conversation with, as long as there's dialogue and not shouting. So, I found it was interesting that we have folks, we're telling them we're not the violent ones. We're not the inciters. And then we have a Trump supporter who literally, with a giant Trump flag, decides to go incite. Utterly unacceptable. I'm going to put Trisha's comment. Exactly. We are responsible for representing President Trump in the manner he richly deserves. 110%. So that was completely unacceptable. Now, I will give credit to the Proud Boys that were there. For the most part, they were very well behaved. The Proud Boys, for the most part, were well behaved. I know there was an incident. I'm going to take a little bit what happened after the fireworks. There was a little incident with them there. But for the most part, I do want to give credit to particularly the Philly chapter who came out. Some really great guys and certainly held their calm, acted appropriately in the situation. You throw a snarky comment or something at the Antifa as they walk by, but certainly they did not bring that heat near the families, near the crowds. It was regular patriots, you guys. Usually we love to say, oh, well, the Proud Boys caused the problem. In this situation, at the National Mall, no. It was regular patriots. It was folks like Dion Cini, others who were not willing to stand down, and were there, and it literally ran in to cause violence, forcing other patriots to get involved in physical altercation to protect this individual, to protect Dion. So I'm going to be removing myself from the Operation Flag Group. I've already removed myself from Operation Flag Group. I'm Chesty LaRue. I'm going to be removing myself from that group. On my main account when I return on the 8th, a couple days now. I should be out of Facebook jail, at least for a second, long enough to at least do that. Who knows what they're going to put me back in Facebook jail for, but so far I should be getting out on the 8th on my main accounts. And I'm going to be removing myself from the group because while I appreciate the idea, I appreciate this goal of going around, showing our support for the president in a variety of locations, dropping a flag, showing a flag in places you might not expect. I think that's fun. I think that's a great idea. Dion has made it such his own project, such his mission. And for him to conduct that himself in that way, as the head of Operation Flag Drop, I don't want to be connected with Operation Flag Drop going forward. That's just where I'm at about it. I hope he continues to do well on his own, but I certainly hope he doesn't come and do stuff in DC in that way. If you want to go and exhaust your officers in New York and harass them, that's your thing. You want to scream cuss words in the officer's face in your town, that's your business. I don't condone it, but I can't stop you. But don't come to my town. Don't come to my city and yell at my overworked cops and make my Patriot event, my 4th of July, more dangerous, not only for patriots, but for regular citizens who are just there to watch the fireworks. It's not everybody. It's not everybody that is a patriot or an Antifa. There's many people who just want to watch some fireworks. They're not trying to get involved in a riot. So we should be de-escalating. We need to be the calm force. We need to be the ones who are listening to law enforcement. We need to be the ones who are supporting the agenda of law enforcement to keep the peace. Why are you not stopping them from yelling at people? Well, because that's not the rules. The rules are, they're not here for that. They're not here to shut up speech. They're here to keep you safe. They're here to make sure that no violence occurs. And if we instigate, if we get ourselves in a situation where violence is inevitably going to occur, we are actually harming the police, and we're harming, potentially causing harm to citizens. And as you know, as we've seen in many situations, these protests can get violent and people do get hurt. People do get hurt. And we're going to talk about what happened as we go forward. And Dan, you're absolutely right. We can't be associated, right? And the BLM had every freedom that we do to be on the mall with us. And they were just with their signs chanting. Most people were ignoring them until we made a protest tourism scene. And then that got escalated by Dion and his actions, his chosen actions, which were inappropriate and unadvised and not cool. So once the fireworks were over, let's talk about what was happening in the streets of DC once the fireworks were over. So folks were starting to file out. They had kind of fenced in the area. So you had to go through this little fenced in corner at the corner of 15th and Constitution, right there, Washington Monument on one side, White House, South Lawn on the other side. So right there were a lot of Black Lives Matter protesters that had gathered in that area. All the ones that had come and protested in and around the monument had all gathered at that area, and they were moving through that area, sort of engulfing individuals. They targeted engulfing individuals who were coming out of the fireworks. Now, that meant a lot of patriots because, as I said, we had 150, maybe, I don't know, could have been more. A large group of patriots, Proud Boys, et cetera, et cetera. The group that some of our other patriots were in, Audra Johnson, my good friend, the MAGA bride that she was in, they got entirely surrounded by Black Lives Matter protesters. And she had the group of Proud Boys with her, and they weren't maybe as good as some of the Proud Boys have been. I agree, as Diane says, the Proud Boys were awesome for the most part in the city. This was the one instance, and I do agree with Audra that she has every right to be upset with the behavior that her Proud Boys exhibit, not her Proud Boys, but the Proud Boys she was with at the time. Because again, rather than worrying about the young families, the children that they had with them, they had to get to safety. They were more interested in yelling at the Antifa and causing issue. So that group actually had to be escorted by about 25 police officers surrounding them back to Harry's. Okay, everybody was going back to Harry's. They had to be escorted back to Harry's. Now, I think that ultimately dragged the leftist protesters to that location because they had to be escorted by police. And as you know, Black Lives Matter, the protesters that we still see out here, they're anti-cop protesters. They're leftist, communist protesters. They're certainly not the Black Lives Matter protesters from the beginning. This is one of the things with Black Lives Matter. Okay, and I'm going to put this up, Honey Queen. I'm going to put this up because she's asking me. Sometimes we have folks that pop in on Periscope, and she asks, are you against BLM? I'm going to tell you my experience with BLM. In the beginning days, when we see a situation like the George Floyd killing and the news gets all excited and everybody gets all excited, there are a lot of just regular Americans, Black Americans, white Americans, all colors of Americans, who are frustrated and upset at the same things. We don't like police brutality. We don't want to see these situations escalate. We don't want bad cops on our police forces. None of us want that. We don't want to see a life lost, certainly not a life lost unnecessarily or in a way that could be avoided, particularly by law enforcement. We're all very committed to that original message. That original message is sound. In fact, you'd find a lot more allies. Black Lives Matter would find a lot more allies if they would reach out. Here's the issue. The people who go out and chant and support in the early days, Black Lives Matter, are not the organization Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, the organization, if you go and read their bylaws, if you go and read their mission statement, they are a Marxist organization. They are anti-capitalist. They want to end private property ownership. They want to push the LGBTQ agenda, which, I support free rights. I don't support forcing an agenda. And I find it very interesting that you are saying that you are a Black Lives Matter organization, but what you're pushing is gay rights, trans rights, etc. It's very interesting how that continues to arc. They are anti-rich. You know, what did Black Lives Matter protested? Well, they protested Jeff Bezos. They protested Target. They protested businesses. Their attack is on capitalism. They're protesting wealthy people. You know, it's not just it's not just police. They're not just protesting bad cops. They are literally trying to destroy, and this is the organization. Unfortunately, what happens with that ideology from the top, they begin these and have these interconnected relationships with groups like Antifa, groups like Anti-Racist Action, which is a communist group. All of these groups love to use these euphemisms. We're anti-racist, but they're actually some of the most bigoted racist people around. These communist groups really start to hijack the Black Lives Matter movement, that energy. They want to hijack that energy. So they began to do Occupy events. What does that have to do with anything? What does occupying Seattle, what does occupying a 6-block area in Seattle do for Black people? Nothing. What does it do to end police brutality? Nothing. What does it do to make sure that we as citizens are getting appropriate police care and bad cops aren't being held on the force? Nothing. It was literally about no cops. It was about an anarchistic vision. Now, what I would say to folks who support Black Lives Matter but are not part of the organization, go look at their bylaws and find out for yourself if you support those agendas. If you support ending private property, that means you don't get your paycheck anymore. All of your money goes to the government and they hand you your food and rice rations for the month. Do you support violent overthrowing and taking of property? Do you support anti-white behavior, attacking white people, dragging people out of their cars, committing acts of danger? Oh, hey, Daniel. Committing acts of racist attack against random white people. This is the violence that actually comes out of that. Unfortunately, when you start to connect with the leftists, when you start to connect with the communists, Antifa, and the anarchists, your message that Black Lives Matter goes away. You're not protecting any Black lives. You're asserting a communist agenda, which, by the way, will hurt Black people more than anyone. Now, I want to talk about some very interesting statistics, because far and away, okay, Black citizens support, and here in DC, it's very true, Black citizens support law enforcement. Black citizens support law enforcement. I'm going to repeat that again. Black citizens support, neighbors still letting off fireworks. It's awesome. Black citizens support law enforcement. Okay. In DC, 41% of Blacks surveyed stated that they had law enforcement protect them or their family members, which is higher than the 33% for white folks or the 21% for Latinos. So Black folks are getting the benefit of law enforcement even more than people in the white community. Why? Because in the urban communities, there is a lot of crime, drugs, violence. Cops are the ones who are there. Cops are the ones who show up when the 11-year-old boy here in DC gets shot at a violence and at an event with other so-called violence and people who come into the community and try to reduce criminal violence, try to reduce gang violence. This is the kind of problems that occur in the urban Black community, and certainly thus the Black community is the one that benefits most from safe, reasonable law enforcement. Now, we're going to lose lives here in DC, and I'm going to tell you why, because the mayor has put in place policies for our law enforcement in Washington, D.C. that prevent them from touching an individual without probable cause of a crime. So when they show up and see someone passed out, knowing full well they're probably on a drug overdose, it's going to become much more difficult, and they are going to be opened up for liability if they touch that person, thus preventing their basic ability to engage in life-saving techniques. They're going to start to have to wait for EMTs. They're going to start to have to wait for medical professionals to show up because of the restrictions the mayor is trying to put on our law enforcement. So it's very unfortunate what we're seeing. It's very unfortunate what we're seeing. And frankly, I think it's unfortunate for the Black folks, the Black people who support the original idea of the actual idea that Black Lives Matter. That what we're trying to say is, we want people to understand that Black people are suffering. This is how. We don't think that the cops should be attacking them. Nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks that criminals should. Nobody thinks that criminals should be violently treated or treated in an inappropriate way. We don't like police brutality. We certainly want our police to be given every tool so that they can safely arrest individuals who are committing crimes and protect the public, as well as protect themselves and get home safely. Now, our DC Metropolitan Police Department did a fantastic job. They did fantastic in a very volatile situation because, as I mentioned, Black Lives Matter protesters were going all over the city, creating ruckus here, creating ruckus there. They formed a huge crowd outside of Harry's on E and 12th. Okay, so Harry's is on E Street between 11th and 12th. They had formed a large mob on the 12th side street, which required a full line of police, shoulder to shoulder, to prevent individuals from breaking through and attacking the patrons, mostly Trump supporters, who were there at the bar. Now, we made it worse than we needed to. We patriots made it worse than we needed to. And I don't mean me personally, but certainly patriots who have come in from out of town. You guys have got to understand. You've got to start talking to people who are locals. You've got to start actually engaging the locals. We know our city. We know what the cops are going to do. We know what you're allowed to do. We know what trouble you can cause and how to avoid that trouble. We know. You folks who come in from out of town, and I love you. I love having you here in my beautiful city. This is the nation's city. I love having you here. But you have got to stop coming here and thinking, we can just do whatever. We can just do whatever. It's a party paradise, and we can just behave in any way, because we had patriots, unfortunately, who put up a PA system in the middle of the street in front of Harry's right there on E Street. We're having a dance party with Trump flags and Trump people all in the street dancing, drinking, sitting on the roof of their trucks, drinking beer. In the street, violating the law, okay, while officers are always obviously overwhelmed. But this loud activity not only attracted attention of the Black Lives Matter protesters, which now put our law enforcement at risk and put individuals coming to the bar at risk. By the time I walked over, there were still Black Lives Matter protesters. We had to walk through the protest, kind of get over. By the time I walked over, police were not even letting anybody in. We had to go all the way around the block, and then I had to beg the officer, please, I am going to get heat stroke. I need to get air conditioning right away. He was able to let us in, but they were keeping everybody out because such a chaotic situation had happened because of patriots partying in the streets like it's a big fun time, thinking that the officers are there basically to babysit them while the protesters are screaming and want to attack them. At one point, those protesters actually shot fireworks at the officers. They actually shot fireworks at the officers. The officers were literally assaulted with explosives trying to protect us. So we needed to be more low-key, you guys. We needed to be inside the building, on the patio. We certainly didn't need to form an illegal street party. Well, it's 4th of July. We can get away with it. Well, yeah, but we were in the middle of a protest city. We were in the middle of, the city's in a heightened state of attack. Our police are on guard everywhere. People are committing acts of vandalism and harassing people. They have way more things better to do than standing on either side. They made a police line on the 11th Street, on the 12th Street side, and the 11th Street side, on both sides. We don't need to have 50 officers protecting this one bar in DC because we made it a scene, because we had individuals who felt their party was more important than the safety of the people that were there, than the safety of the people. Now, what unfortunately happened with that is people, watch, and the mayor has her little spies that watch, and they call in, and they tried to get John shut down. John was able to get everybody, take care of the situation, make sure there were no violations, and that he was actually closed by the time inspectors sent by the mayor's office arrived. But we drew attention in ways that were inappropriate. We put John's business at risk. We put other patriots at risk. Diane will tell you, she had to take her friends, her group friends, and their children out through that mob to get to her hotel. They were assaulted. They had things thrown at them to get out and to get to their hotel. So creating that kind of anger attraction in the city was not appropriate. It was not appropriate by patriots. I'm going to ask my patriots going forward, and I'm going to be in fact, I just got a chance to talk with Enrique Torrio, head of the Proud Boys. He's wonderful. We had a great conversation, and the Proud Boys are going to be helping me with this, and we're going to be spreading this message for all patriots who come to DC. For all patriots who come to Washington, D.C. We love that you come to Washington, D.C. We love that you come to our bars. We love that you come to Harry's. We love that you support John Boyle and his restaurant, his bar Harry's, and his restaurant Harriet's. We love that. We love that. We need to protect his business because the city wants him shut down. So when you come to DC, please come to Harry's. Meet me at Harry's. I'll be happy to be there. But when you get to Harry's, I'm going to need you to do a few things. Number one, I'm going to need you to make sure you are there to be calm. We're not there to start fights. We're not there to instigate with the left. We're not there to start arguments. We're not there to argue with other patrons. We're there to be happy, to drink and eat, and enjoy the company of our friends and our fellow patriots, So I need you to come with a calm mind, number one. Number two, we must respect the street, the sidewalk, and the rules of the city. That means there can be no alcohol consumption on the sidewalk or in the street. And I know sometimes that patio gets full and people want to smoke and they want to go talk to their friend down thing. They take their bear with them. I spent an hour and a half Friday night. Actually, I spent 3 hours every 15 minutes. Hey, you guys, I need you to bring those beers back over on the other side of the ropes where we're allowed to be. Hey, I need you to bring that alcohol on the other side of the ropes. DC came down and actually saw several times. He could have been cited several times for people drinking on the street. Okay. We need to keep the alcohol that is purchased there. And frankly, even if you bring your alcohol, don't make a scene. Keep it in the patio behind the ropes. That's what the ropes are there for. You're allowed to smoke on the patio. You can always put your beer down and go down to the end of the street and talk to your friends and come back to your beer. It's safe. It's a wonderful environment. You can't have alcohol in the street. You can't have alcohol in the street, you guys. We can't go to Harry's anymore and have our beers and go step and stand in the sidewalk, stand in the street. Can't do it. Okay? We can't block the sidewalk. That's another thing. We cannot be blocking the sidewalk. We cannot be blocking the street and blocking the sidewalk. We need to respect the space of the city. There's plenty of room to smoke without blocking the whole way, without getting in the way of passersby. These are all things that the city looks for and can pull your liquor license for. In D.C., in Washington, D.C., if your business is causing a scene, if it causes a regular scene, they can revoke your liquor license because you're a draw for lawlessness, that you're creating problems. You're causing people to want to come and do things inappropriately in this area that the city does not want, that the residents don't want, that is disrupting the peace in that area. And that actually can be used to remove the license. That is something that actually can happen. Your actions can cause a business to lose their liquor license in Washington, D.C. So we have to behave appropriately. Okay, so we come with a peaceful heart. We don't come there to have conflict. And I want to thank all the Proud Boys. They did all their conflict outside of that area. They kept Harry's calm, happy. All the Proud Boys that were there at Harry's did a really good job doing that for the vast majority of the part. Two, obviously, we have to respect the public way. We have to drink alcohol only on the patio. Number four, most important, protect the way, only drink alcohol on the patio. We can't have any amplification, you guys. No bullhorns, no speakers, none of this. We cannot have amplification on the street. One, it's illegal in the city, okay? It can be stopped. But even if it's just a bullhorn, which might be legal in the city, you are drawing attention. You're yelling at people. Okay, that's a protest tool. That's not a party tool. All right, it's not a fun drinky drink, have a good time, hang out tool. That is a tool for protesting. That is a tool for protesting and nothing more. So don't bring your bullhorn and come yell at the folks on the street in front of Harry's. Don't bring your PA system and play music and all that. We're not doing that. Okay? We're going to come to Harry's. We're going to enjoy the bar. We're going to drink alcohol where we are allowed to drink alcohol and nowhere else. We're going to respect the public way. We're going to respect the laws of the city 110% when we're in front of Harry's bar, when we're at John Boyle's establishment. 110%. Y'all want to fudge the laws a little bit somewhere else? That's fine. That's your business. I'm not telling you what to do. You're all grown. But when you're at Harry's, and when you meet us at Harry's, as Diane says, meet me at Harry's. When you meet us at Harry's, come ready to have fun, come ready to be peaceful, and come ready to follow the rules. Out of respect to this individual, this business owner who has supported the Patriot community, who has defended the Patriot community, and has done everything he possibly can to be an advocate of us and our people. Our MAGA people. It is our safe space. It is the one location that we in DC, whenever any Patriots come to Washington, DC, you can always meet us at Harry's and have a good time, have a good meal, have some great drinks at an affordable price. We need to protect this business. The city of DC is trying to shut John down. He's trying. They are targeting. They are watching. They keep a very close eye on Harry's, and they would not hesitate a moment if they had a way that they can actually bring down his business. So I need all of my Patriots, and I want to thank Enrique for the great conversation we had, and for the Proud Boys support on this, and for everybody else's support on this. When you come to DC, meet me at Harry's, but certainly be respectful, be legal, and, be a good ambassador for our president. Be a good example for our president. Be a good demonstration for the kind of people that our president is. Yes. Have respect for our president. Have respect for the city. Have respect for this residents, and have respect for the bar. We must protect Harry's, and this is how we do it. We do it by being good. We do it by making sure that we don't cause any unnecessary attention or negativity when we are in town. So we're going to be doing that going forward. I want to, of course, thank all of the law enforcement who did such a good job protecting us. And we thank our law enforcement repeatedly here in DC. We certainly, they did a great job. But across the city, there were 4 arrests. There were all leftist arrests, all protesters arrested. There were no Patriots arrested, although, as I said, there was a possibility that could have been a different number. Certainly, unfortunately, there were also a few fatal shootings here in DC on that night, but certainly nothing like Chicago. And it's what's tragic about this situation is because of the protests, because we have so many people protesting, causing a ruckus, harassing people in so many situations in which police have to protect the public from these aggressive, angry, harassing protesters, that actually diminishes the amount of police that can be there securing the rest of the city and be there to prevent potential crime or be on scene when crime occurs in a quick time frame. So we're exhausting the police. We're overusing our resources. We're spreading them out because we have the left. And it's the radical left that's doing it. The same people who say that police are horrible terrorists are actually the ones causing more harm to citizens, putting more lives at risk because they're wasting police resources because they have to be babysat in case they decide to break cars, break windows, break into businesses, catch things on fire, as we've seen many, many times in the city already. So it was an amazing night. Everybody got home safe, but it could have gone worse. It could have certainly gone worse. And I want to encourage people, when you come to Washington, D.C., of course we have protests. Of course we have all kinds of lefties and fun stuff like that to come in, to come in and take a look at. Don't instigate. Don't overwork my cops. Don't go cause situations, and if you do, don't bring that stuff back to other patriots. Don't bring that to our businesses that we support. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So please, when you come to DC, respect our city, respect our residents, and yes, as Risa says, respect our police. The DC police are awesome. We have good officers here. We have the vast majority of officers are good officers. They're not New York officers who have given everybody a bunch of crap about the shutdown laws. They're not Chicago officers who have a lot of attitude. They're not. They're for the most, by far and away, just good citizens who are here to protect their city and to do a good job making sure that everyone in Washington, D.C., whether they are native, whether they are resident, or whether they are visitor, gets home safely and enjoys the city as much as possible. So that was the 4th of July. That was the 4th of July in DC. Now, going forward, I'm going to just do a quick, we have got a lot of work to do on this election. I want everybody to kind of take this week to reconnect with all of the efforts we have going forward. We're going to be talking about that in the next few shows, all of the efforts we have going forward, because there's a few things we're going to need to do. Obviously, we have election work to do, but as you see with the new shutdowns, with the continue, I'm going to put Margaret's, in case any DC police see it, I want to put all the good comments of DC police so they can get a chance to see those as well. We certainly want to give them their ups. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe a few DC police do watch the show. I certainly know many of them now, and I'm happy that I've gotten a chance to meet so many wonderful officers from our city. So we've got a lot of work to do. We're going to need to actually get involved and get excited about reopening, and in many cases, reopening. We have states that are trying to go backwards. So we got to get back on the reopen train. We got to fight that tooth and nail. We're going to be talking about the GoFundMe for Reopen DC. Of course, as you know, we were trying to get together a banner, a mobile billboard to demand that the mayor resign. I think we're actually going to refund those donations because we were unable to get to the amount we needed. And with these ongoing protests, it's not safe. I don't feel very comfortable putting a driver, putting a truck, or putting a vehicle on the streets until we see the protests actually calm down. So I'm going to be addressing that over the next few days. We're going to be revamping what we're doing with Reopen DC and how we're going to be going after the mayor to publicly push back against her shutdowns. But certainly we are going to be working again, reopening America, helping other states that are also still in this situation. We still have new mask ordinances that are being issued. We have states that are actually moving backwards. So we're going to continue the efforts there. And certainly we're going to continue, as Diane said, with Trump Force One. We are going to continue to get out the vote. Get out the vote. There are two very important things that we need to do in the next 4 months. And that is one, we need to restore and renew our economy. We need to get this economy rolling. That helps the president more than anything. But number two, we need to get out the vote. I cannot, and nor should you, trust that the campaign nor the RNC are going to do that. So we need to be the folks who make sure that folks are registered. We need to be the folks that make sure that folks are getting to the polls. We need to be the folks that make sure that if folks are using their mail-in ballots, that those mail-in ballots are getting in and they are being even possibly delivered directly to the Board of Elections, so we lose that potential problem with, that was a poppy one. We lose that potential problem with the post office somehow losing these ballots. So we've got a lot of work to do. We're going to be talking on Wednesday again when I come in on the show. We're going to be talking entirely about that. That's what Wednesday is going to be about. How do we get on track? And what is our mission over the next few months as we're going towards the election? Because I can tell you right now, the left is going to continue to be crazy. They're going to be crazy and crazy and crazy. Okay? Because of what Helen says. Yes. Helen, that's 100%. We can't exercise our free speech without fear. It's literally a war now. Yeah. It's going to get crazier. So we're going to strategize because that's how you win. Whatever they're going to throw at us, we can strategize. We can take the right actions that get the goal accomplished. And we certainly are not going to let the left wear us down, overwhelm us, create enough chaos that we are not able to not only reelect this president, but hold and increase our majority in the Senate. And on top of that, take back the House so that we can actually start to repair the damage that this radical left is continuing to run. So that's our show for today, folks. I just want to tell my little YouTube troll, I'm not answering any of that. You're crazy. Crazy people. The left is angry. They're going to get angrier and angrier as time goes on. They're going to share more and more lies and misinformation. We're going to see more and more false valor, folks pretending to be military, folks pretending to be doctors, folks pretending to be everything and lying to us about who they are to try to play against President Trump. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell you, most of these people are bots. That's one person doing like 50 different accounts. So we're going to push back and we're going to actually get the votes. The votes are there. It's going to be a huge red tsunami if we do the work. So that's what we're going to talk about Wednesday. That's our show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I just want to say thank you so much to all of our great patriots who were here in town, who behaved themselves, who had a wonderful time, who enjoyed the wonderful fireworks show, flyovers, the wonderful 4th of July, Independence Day celebrations. Even got a chance to go and see Black Lives Matter Plaza and the Black Lives Matter protests, but did that in a way that kept them and others safe. I just want to thank each and every one of the people from out of town who did that. And of course, I am actually very grateful for my good friend Diane, my good friend Helena, some of my other great patriots that are here all the time, So I'm going to just show you this real quick because this is what I'm saying, that the left is going to say any dumb things and they're going to be crazy because here's exactly what I'm talking about. This lunacy. I'm sure glad I'm not a Democrat. I am voting for Trump 10 times so he kills more American soldiers. You see the games they want to play. The reality of the situation is President Trump has done more to protect the military. He has pulled us back from more unnecessary wars. Both the Democrats under Obama and under George Bush wasted more soldiers' lives in military industrial complex occupations around the world than this president has ever. So, yeah, nobody's watching YouTube because that's where you archive. You're literally watching my archive. That's what you do. It's kind of ridiculous. So, and he's posted the same comment like 10 times. So, you are a bot. Bye, bot. We're going to keep dealing with this. But we're going to continue to win. And people like this craziness, show you perfectly why we're going to win. Because the left continues to make them sound cuckoo. So, everyone, we'll be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Trump Talk. I'm going to be out of Facebook jail by then, so we're going to put that both on this page, but also on Suzzanne Monk page. So we're going to be back on that main page. I'm going to be congealing all of this. We certainly got to deal with this social media stuff. I am over on Parler at Suzzanne Monk. I'm not very good at using it yet. Do go to my Twitter feed at Trumpertarian because I'm doing a fun thing over there. Nobody on Twitter is seeing my posts, so I am doing 30 days of my deserted Twitter island journal. On my abandoned island, all alone with there's supposed to be 26,000 followers on my Twitter island, and nobody's there. And it's hilarious posts. Hilarious. And so, if you get a chance, if you go on Twitter, it's just a way I'm trying to do to see if we can't get Twitter to stop shadow banning me quite so much. So, until then, you guys. Until next time, thank you for tuning in. As always, this is your girl Suzzanne Monk. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great night. Happy Independence Week. Trump out. Take care.